everyone. Thank you for joining us. Joshua, let's get started with our great webinar this week.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. We've got a great and exciting topic to discuss this week, and it's something that I get asked every day, and I think it's appropriate that we address it. And we've got some meaningful deliverables as well. Don't be surprised that this call may last 2 sessions, ladies and gentlemen. So beware and pay attention, because there's a lot of great information coming down in the next hour.
Yeah, and don't forget that we've got a new webinar scheduled on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. for our new Scoreinc turnkey credit repair solution, which includes our new credit repair software, Joshua. So we're very excited to demo that on Tuesday. So if you're not scheduled for that yet, go to scoring.com and go to the webinar page. And there is a Scoreway webinar link that you can sign up there for. So we look forward to you joining us on Tuesdays. Well, Joshua, let's get started talking about how to quickly implement the perfect and most profitable customer life cycle systems in your business. That's where it's going to be important, is in your business.
Yeah, I mean, for us to know what the perfect life cycle is, most of us think we already have it, but quite frankly, we're just letting our sales just fall through our fingers, or Scott Martineau would say, just plugging not being able to plug the bucket as we fill it up with water. In this case, with sales leads and pipelines, and adding pipelines to it. So I think it's appropriate, Joel, that we explain to everyone what the typical customer life cycle is first.
Yeah, let's do that, and by showing a video from Infusionsoft, which just a great webinar. I mean, great video. It's not specifically on the credit repair industry, but the point will play well for you.
I'm going to share today a really exciting way to think about growing and marketing your business. And we'll do that by first talking about the typical customer life cycle. So we all spend time and energy and money generating interest in our company. We might do that online or through word of mouth or through some type of offline advertising. But we do all that in an effort to get people to engage in our sales process. We all have a different sales process. Again, we may sell online, we may have a sales team, we may sell through estimates, things like that. And the goal in all of these cases is that we create a paying customer, that we win the deal. So let's take a quick example of how this plays out. So let's say that I spend $1,000 and about 10 hours of time generating interest, which creates 100 interested prospects for me that end up turning into 10 paying customers. Okay? Great. Now let's say I want to take that 10 customers, I want to turn that into 20. So what do I do? What are my options? Well, with the typical customer life cycle, I can double the amount of dollars I'm spending on my advertising and marketing, or I can double the time. Maybe I'll spend more time in Craigslist or in social media in an effort to create more leads that can turn into more customers. Or I might work on my sales process a little bit. But there is a new breed of entrepreneurs and business owners that understand that there's a different way to grow a company today. And the typical customer life cycle is not ideal. And the reason is really it comes down to the fact that there are just holes in this here bucket. So I want to talk about 3 very specific holes, and then we'll talk about how we can maybe take things to the next level. So the very first thing I want to talk about, the first hole, is in website traffic. I want you to ask yourself, how many of the visitors who came to your website this morning were not ready to engage in your sales process? Probably a really, really high percentage. Unfortunately, when we don't capture those leads and give them a reason to engage with us, we lose them. They're lost forever. And they essentially bounce off of our website, and this is the first big hole that I want to talk about, is lost traffic. Okay? And where does that traffic go? Well, it essentially goes into the big internet rubbish bin, and it's gone forever. So lost traffic. Never to come back again. So now let's say for those that are interested enough to engage in our sales process, though, what happens with them? Well, we all know that in our marketing, we generate a certain number of hot leads, right? That's where we kind of get our livelihood from, is by converting those hot leads. But there's a whole bunch of other leads that may not be hot and ready to buy today, and unfortunately, they get labeled as bad leads. Well, they're not all bad leads. Some of them are. Some of them we don't really care that they ever come back. But many of them just may not be ready to buy today. And so it's unfortunate that happens. Did you know that statistically speaking, it takes 7 contacts with a company before a consumer feels comfortable enough to do business with us? Now, here's the problem. We stop following up typically right here. So we get them part of the way going, and then we stop. And we don't finish the nurturing that's needed for these leads because we're labeling them as bad and kind of throwing them out. I once talked to a business owner that was in the mortgage business, and he went to the trash can and found literally 350 leads that were fully qualified. Somebody thought they were bad and threw them out in the trash. So you may not have literal leads being thrown in the trash, but there's waste happening in your business, and that's our second big bucket that I want us to attack today. So this is lost leads. Just hemorrhaging out of so many businesses is discouraging. Okay, now let's talk about another very common thing that happens. We close the sale, and unfortunately this feels like we've reached the finish line. And so what ends up happening is all of our energy and focus comes right back here, and we're wanting to drive more into the top of the funnel, right? Well, this is a tragedy, and this is the third hole I want to talk about, which is lost customers. Now, in some cases, we actually lose customers. They leave our business. By the way, did you know that 65% of consumers that leave a business to go to another vendor do so not because we jacked them up or we had a bad product or bad service. They leave because of indifference. Isn't that unfortunate that we'd have a customer that we spent all this money attracting and closing, and then they leave because we just didn't do a good enough job to really wow that customer? And it's unfortunate. So you may have customers that you actually lose, but even if you're not losing customers because of these things, you're also we're not good enough at upselling customers. We're losing our upsells, and we're not good enough at getting referrals. It is so much cheaper to sell to an existing customer than it is to go back and try to find a brand new prospect, teach them about your company, convert them, and get more money out of them. But yet we're not able to do that very well today. Okay, so again, as I said, this is not the ideal way to work, and we've spent a lot of time working on a different model for thinking about your business marketing. So I want to erase all this stuff that we've been talking about here. I'm going to leave the holes. I'm going to leave these trash cans up as a reminder because we're going to attack each one of these right now.
Okay, let's watch the next video.
Yeah, that is a definite. That is something that we all really need to pay attention to. Even in our business, we've as of late been looking at our customer life cycle, and we found some holes. And it bears in mind that everyone should really pay attention to what Scott is saying here and look at what they're actually doing, because we're spending and throwing every possibly Joel about, do I need a website? Should I have a website? What should it say? Should I sell something on it? Should it be a lead acquisition? It's important to understand that, having the website is not enough, because we're not competing against Lexington Law in our space. There's no way we can. We've got to really funnel traffic to our website as one of the leads, as one of the sales pipelines that we have. And then we've got to really, really take care of our customers. And as you can see, there's a bunch of holes. What's surprising to me, most surprising, Joe, is two things that Scott says there. It takes about 7 tries before a consumer feels comfortable with purchasing your product. And between the second and the third try, we normally quit or drop off and don't contact our customer. That's an important statistic that we should all pay attention. We're throwing good dollars after bad there. The second most important thing to pay attention to there is 65% of customers that do buy leave your service or stop using your service because of indifference. That means that we haven't gained their customer loyalty, Joe. We haven't been able to wow them. And that is something that we really need to understand when nurturing our customers. It's just not sending emails It's doing what is going to impress that customer with regards to your service. It's going to say, wow. There's a book called Customer Satisfaction is Worthless, Customer Loyalty is Priceless, and it goes in tune with that. It's about the car industry, and there's a scenario where a dealership, a BMW dealership, sends a pickup truck from one part of the state across all the way into the state and into the next state to go deliver a vehicle, a temporary used vehicle, and pick up that vehicle and bring it back. And you say, well, that's a total loss. Well, let me tell you, that customer is going to be loyal after that, because that is an impressive feat to take on. And they gain that customer's business forever and ever and ever. These are some of the things that we need to do to wow our customers. Customer satisfaction, ladies and gentlemen, is the minimum thing that we can do to impress our customers. It's what is needed to be done, expected. Customer loyalty is something that he does not expect to be done. And that's what we need to get to with these nurturing sequences, and we'll go into that later on. And Scott's going to talk about the perfect customer life cycle, Joe.
What everybody else says in the typical customer life cycle. Let's talk about what the perfect customer life cycle could do in your business. And to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to attack each of these three holes in the bucket one by one and show you how the perfect customer life cycle will help you to eliminate those holes. Okay? So the perfect customer life cycle from a high level is a framework for thinking about your marketing, and it includes 7 different phases. We'll talk about each one right now. The first phase is attracting traffic. We'll do online advertising, maybe through Google AdWords or search engine optimization. We'll have word of mouth going on with our customers. Maybe we'll do some offline marketing. Whatever the sources of traffic that you pick will create interest in our company. Well, instead of following the pattern that most businesses do, where they have a website and they have most of the traffic going to it and leaving, and the only people that they capture are the people who buy, we're going to forget that idea, and we're going to intentionally and systematically capture leads. Well, how do we do that? It's very simple. We create a magnet. A magnet is a tool. It's something that is very valuable to your prospect. It can be informational. There's lots of different things that we can teach you how to create these magnets. But a magnet is something that is interesting enough to them that in order to get it, they're going to give you their information so that we can follow up with them, and they're going to give you permission to follow up. Okay? Now, I want you to imagine if you had on your website, for example, let's say you have a web form offering this valuable magnet, and the people right now that are coming in just leaving because they have no interest in staying, because they're not ready to buy, what would happen if you could take 30 or 40% of those people and capture them into your database? So now you have their information and you can follow up. What would that be worth in your company? Okay, so we've captured the leads. Now we move on to into the sales process. And let's talk about attacking this lost lead problem. Remember, we have the leads that are not hot today, the ones that are just either cold or warm that we're labeling as bad leads, need to be saved. Okay, so let's get rid of this. How do we do that? Well, there's 2 different ways of nurturing that we're going to do for our prospects. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is something like this. Somebody fills out a form on our site. We've captured them. We're going to begin to follow up now with them. We're going to send them emails or direct mail pieces, different types of follow-up that we'll use to nurture the relationship. Okay? Those who are interested enough to buy will move on into our conversion process. Those who are not, we actually have a place for them, and it's not the trash can. We're going to actually put them into a long-term nurture campaign. Well, what is that? Well, that's a slightly less aggressive, maybe a monthly touch where we're delivering valuable information to that prospect, and we're just staying in touch so that when the person is ready to buy, we're the ones that they're thinking about, not one of our competitors. Okay? So there's short-term nurturing and education that we'll do that'll take us from our contacts of 1 or 2 contacts through to the 7 that we need. There's also a recognition that we have long-term follow-up that might need to take place. Okay, now we've got a hot prospect that's ready to be closed. We'll put them into our sales process. Now again, you might have in your business, you might have a shopping cart because maybe you're selling online, and that's the way that you're going to send people to actually purchase online, and your website does the selling for you. Or you might actually have a sales team, and you have sales reps that you're going align these leads out to. Whatever the case, you have your system of selling that will convert the person into a paying customer. Okay, now let's talk about post-sale. This is the challenging part because it's so easy for the finish line to be right here. You know, we've closed the sale, and then we rush back here to the front of the funnel, and we start doing all the hard work to get a new customer in. Well, it is tremendously less expensive for us to use our existing customers to get upsells, to get referrals, repeat sales, than it is to go back to the beginning. So let's talk about how we can eliminate this customer waste. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to absolutely make sure that we are wowing our customers when they buy. So in addition to you delivering your service and having a satisfactory experience, we are going to wow our customers by putting in place a very simple, it can be very simple to start, wowing customer welcome campaign. This is a campaign that new customers will receive that gives them helpful information, follows up on the service you provided, and just in general, we love on them a little bit. And it is amazing how easy it is right now in today's world to do small things that will have a great benefit because most people don't get loved on by the vendors that they buy from. Okay, and then the next two things is we're going to have intentional programs in place to make sure that we're upselling customers that have already purchased one time, and we're going to take that one-time purchase and maybe get them to buy more frequently. We may get them to buy higher-end items. We may cross-sell additional items, but we're going to find different ways to turn that one-time customer into a repeat, and we'll have specific offers. We'll offer one thing, and if somebody bought product A, and somebody else bought product B, we might be offering them different upsell offerings that relate to what they bought initially. And then finally, we're going to be intentional about getting referrals. We're going to ask our customers for referrals. And one of the ways to do that is, for example, in this email, we might ask the customer whether we did a good job. Did we serve you well? And if we did, that might be a great time to trigger a referral request. And you just ask the person for the referral. So again, as you look at this and you compare this with a typical customer life cycle, the perfect customer life cycle is the way of the future. The new breed of entrepreneurs that understand marketing automation and they understand the new way to market get that this is the way to go, not to follow the masses and what everybody else is doing.
Great information there, huh, Joel? Joel? I think we lost Joel there for a minute, ladies and gentlemen. He'll be back on the line with us shortly. But just to discuss the perfect customer life cycle, we can see that there's no waste. You know, we're really taking advantage of the 80% of the community that doesn't buy hot or leads that are not hot, and we're really nurturing those customers and taking care of those customers inside our process. And this is what we've got to do in our business as well. We've got to be able to establish or move from the typical customer life cycle to the perfect customer life cycle, Joe. I think we got you back online, right?
Yeah, that was a little tricky with my headset and my speakerphone, so I ended up hanging up on the audience here. But yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. You know, and the difference he mentioned in one of the videos is, you know, the difference between, you know, spending $1,000 and getting 10 customers versus getting 11 even, or 12. And, you know, when do you get that second or third or fourth or fifth one? Well, you may not get it right away, but the goal is to get it eventually by doing something that really won't cost you any money to do. It's just a matter of thinking it out and you know, buying the products and the solutions that are available. And then, of course, let's go to the next step. You buy Infusionsoft, you buy, you know, whatever the CRM is, then you got to make the dang thing work, right? And yeah, because otherwise, you know, you've just, all you're doing is wasting money at that time. So let's talk about that and kind of go through these sequences a little bit. And but it's all about the new customer acquisition. And I really should have said there in lifetime value. I know at Hutton Chase we've added a number of products to our website, including TVs, laptops, tablets, all sorts of things of that nature that you know, we're having some good success with selling. So we're real interested in the lifetime value of the customer, not just the fact that we got a new customer. Okay, two different things, but if there's an X and a Y in your business, X is the customer number of customers, and Y is how much that you charge them. Then the more X you've got and the more Y you've got, the better off you'll be. So I should have had there, Joshua, new customer acquisition dash lifetime value. Now, one of the things, and I'll just stop right here and kind of run all the way to the end of this presentation to make sure I don't forget this, every single solitary customer you've got, okay, and they probably last 3 to 6 months, sometimes longer, right? But every single one of them needs an annual credit review. So you should call up every single solitary customer that you've ever had in your entire life and say, hey, we're offering a free annual credit review. I'd like to, or, maybe it's $199, or maybe it's $99, or maybe it's whatever. Let's get you on this, on the credit monitoring. If they're not on there, let me log on there and check your credit for you and see if there's something that needs to be addressed. And Joshua, I think nobody's doing that sufficiently.
Absolutely. We lose, we've got shiny object syndrome sometimes, Joe. We look at the next customer and the next business opportunity. We've really got to pay attention to, it's easier, Joe, to do business with the same customer, especially if you've wowed that customer. If that customer, shame on us if if we don't have sufficient services or products in place, I'm not talking about selling something, selling somebody else's vision. You just mentioned an excellent idea, Joel. Having a yearly review with the customer, selling him ongoing maintenance on his service, that is just outstanding. These are things that we can build services around that and continue our service for the next 6 months and deliver on that service, because our service is going to be to monitor that customer's credit and help them transition into not only help them get credit worthiness, but help them sustain that credit worthiness. Sometimes they just don't get it, and those monthly reviews, yearly reviews, trimester reviews, however you want to monetize it, is definitely time that you can sell.
Yeah, absolutely. And how much does it cost to get a guy on the phone, log into his credit monitoring, look at his credit, and say, hey, you're doing great. You need this help. Can I, is there a referral? So, but again, I want to keep moving on this presentation, Joshua. But that's a good idea, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, and you need to write that down, and you can implement it with virtually zero cost. Send an email to everybody, call them, pick up the phone, and make a call. I've got a young lady making some calls right now. And I've hired a professional call center, so I'm paying $12 an hour, and we've worked on the scripts and gotten it right. But they're making good success. Okay, and it's get an auto dialer, but that's a whole other level of complication. But anyway, Joshua, that's a real good way to get that Y of income up per customer. Well, let's get into the 5-minute pre-qualification, because that's the key. When you've attracted that new customer, you've got to sift and sort them in a relatively short amount of time and determine if they're a viable candidate. But let me give you a warning. Okay, I was in Atlanta. We always go to Atlanta and go shopping after Christmas, and I'm in this really nice clothing store. The jackets are $800. The ties are $100-something. Nice place, right? So this guy he spends 5 minutes with me. He's looking at me. He says, you look like a football player. He's just schmoozing the heck out of me, Well, I can do this. I'll put this tie with it, this coat with it. And when I decided not to buy, because the coat that I wanted on the mannequin, and why the heck would you have a coat on a mannequin you only have one size of, okay? Take the flipping coat off the mannequin, put another coat. You got a bunch of sizes too, right, Joshua? It's just crazy.
Yeah.
So I fall in love with the coat I can't get, and he's selling me one I really don't want, and he's doing a good job trying to do his best to match it all up. But at the end of the conversation, I said, it's just not what I want. He said, well, I thought I had you sold. I said, well, you did. He said, oh, okay, put all this stuff back right in front of me. And then, like the next day, we're still in the mall, and I walk past him, and he just walks right past me, doesn't see me, ignores me altogether. So I'll assure you of one thing, and this is back to what Scott was saying earlier. The next time I go to Atlanta, go into that store, If he comes by, I said, no, I'll get the next guy. And so the point of that is while this 5-minute qualification is something that you want to do in 5 minutes, don't rush off the phone. Don't rush it. Don't ruin the opportunity to sell that customer later, because it costs you a lot of money to get that lead in front of you. So don't mess it up like that guy did trying to sell me at this $800 coat. Okay. And don't sell them something they don't really want. Figure out what they really need and be honest with them. So Joshua, let's talk about, with that having been said, after 5 minutes, let's talk about that pre-qualification and what that looks like.
Well, that pre-qualification is an important time for you to set, number one, listen. You want to give the client the opportunity to tell you and let him speak, but you want to have control of that conversation. So you've got to use open-ended questions, but you've got to corral him with closed-ended interventions. And the way you do that is by intervening every now and then. And what else? Such as, these are words or phrases that you can use to, after you've asked them that open. So you're, tell me a little bit about why you think you need credit repair. Let's discuss this for 5 minutes to see, establish a time frame. There's nothing wrong with that. Do you have a couple of minutes, 5 minutes to talk to me about your future credit repair or credit worthiness? These are things that you're establishing limits. So they're going to go ahead and talk in and around that framing of your conversation. So when they start giving you that information, you also want to be empathetic, because all of you on the call know that we can't fix anything. We don't repair anything. All we do is we basically send our letters, and we do it tactfully and strategically and clinically in order for us to get the best results possible. But we can't guarantee anything. And when we don't look at the credit report, it gets even worse. We're just going off of a whim. So in reality, what we're doing is we're listening to the customer so that he really understands, number one, what is his problem? Number two, what does he want? And number three, what's the next step? So we've got to be very empathetic when doing that. We've got to also establish non-negotiables, Joel. We've got to be able to say, we've got to tell that customer, do you have an email? Do you have current credit cards right now? These are questions that we're going to ask our customers, because guess what? If the customer doesn't have a credit card or doesn't have an email, well, how the hell are we going to communicate with that guy when the money isn't there? It's going to be a brutal task that's going to make our customer cost us more to service. So we've got to be able to understand what those non-negotiables are. And we've got to finalize that by a semi-close. With the main idea of this 5-minute pre-qualification is to understand if it's a viable candidate, number one, and number two, to go ahead and then sell our consultation services. So we've got to pitch our product, and we've got to move the customer to the next step. So that's the purpose of the 5-minute pre-qualification, Joe.
Yeah, so again, setting the expectation, asking questions that elicit an answer, and being empathetic, letting them discuss the problem, building some rapport. Ask them, here's a couple of additional questions. Do you have an email? Do you have an active checking and debit account, credit or debit card? Do you, what are you going to do when you get if you're able to get your credit repaired? Okay, so set that desire there and that hook, because if there's only a couple of answers. I'm trying to get a car, I'm trying to get a house, I'm trying to get a job, or I've been through bankruptcy, and I've been through bankruptcy now. I've been discharged X number of weeks, months, years, and it's time to get my credit on board because I am going to be needing my credit to do something. Those are the only reasons that you're going to find, but which one is it? So again, you can build that rapport. If it's about a house, well, where are you trying to buy? That's a nice area. I like that area. Build some rapport. Have a conversation. Joshua, I always quote my friend Greg Frost. He says you do business with the people that you're friends with, and you make friends out of the people that you do business with. And so you've got to build rapport with that customer, and you can do that quickly and easily, and not let it go on an hour with a customer that's not going to qualify. So there's a balance there. We call it the 5-minute pre-qual because we want you to try to get through it in 5 minutes, but if it takes 7 or 8, don't be watching your clock that closely. So again, there's a million things to discuss at every one of these slides, but in order to give you this very detailed but somewhat of a general overview, we need to keep moving there. But let's talk about the immediate follow-up that's needed after a customer buys. And we're going to talk about a customer that doesn't buy as well. But Joshua, the customer that buys, okay, I mentioned this last week, I think it was, harken back to the day where you had this first date with this guy or this gal, and the next day they didn't call you back. And how did you feel? You felt dumb, you felt deflated, you felt hurt, you felt, scared, then you get mad, okay? Then you call the Better Business Bureau, and then you call the State Attorney General.
God forbid something went wrong, So right. If it's a service, and something was not exactly the same, God forbid something went wrong or something was not damaged or didn't work the way it was supposed to. That is, that's just opening a definite can of whoop, what. You right. want to stay away from that.
Yeah, so how do you overcome that, that almost guaranteed level of buyer's remorse at some level, okay? Now, there's two schools of thought here, Joshua. One is out of sight, out of mind. Hey, if they don't call me, I don't want to call them, why bring up a sore subject? But the other is, let's be proud of our product and have something that people want. And if they really don't need or want our product, they're the worst customers to have, so get rid of them that day, right? So I recommend, okay, and I'm not in the credit repair business, but if I was, I'd call that customer back within an hour or so, and I'd say, by the way, I was thinking about something that you said, and I just want to clarify this. Now, Joshua, that subject could take, as many different directions as you can imagine, right? I want to ask you about this trade line or about this, or.
Well, let me tell you something, Joe. Don't knock yourself off the perch there. You even though you weren't in the credit repair business, I was, and that's exactly the way we did it. That's exactly the follow-up call was, and the follow-up call was paramount, and that's the best time to call, Joel. Think about it. If the customer just left money in your business, he bought your idea hook, line, and sinker. He bought your service hook, line, and sinker. What is the best time to talk to that guy? When he wants to talk to you. And that, calling him same day, next day is absolutely the best thing to do. They'll feel attended to. Quite frankly, some of the bigger credit repair companies have poor deliverables. The end product is terrible, but that's one thing that they do extremely well, over the top, which is follow up immediately and follow up continuously, Joe.
Well, you have to, and again, if you want to talk about Lexington Law, they're going to follow up with your customer. That's for sure. So, that initial follow-up, I think the next day you could also call up and ask them something. And guess what, guys? You're going to get their voicemail most of the time. So it's a 10-second call most of the time. And when it's not, it's a meaningful call. So, be sure to do that. And again, not just picking days here or, like 1 hour, next day, 5th day, but, some sequence that works for you. But these are meaningful time frames. It's been a week. It's been a day. It's been an hour, and I just wanted to follow up with you. I wanted to make sure you understand. I wanted to let you know about this, what's going on. The letters went out. If it takes, you 3 or 4 days to get the letters out, hey, the letters went out. I want to let you know you probably got an email about it. And Joshua, let's talk about our sequences that we send out for our customers after the round of disputes has been done, the first round.
Well, after the first round of disputes, you mean inside the Scoreinc Credit Repair Business Solution, right, Joel?
Yes.
Yeah. After we've, when we've got a new customer, the system sends out an email automatically. Well, that's okay. But right after we dispute, the system also sends out a notice of account update, which basically summarizes exactly what happened during that round. If it's a first round, what happens is that it says the system sends the consumer a letter letting them know that their letters have been sent out and they're going to be updated within the next 30 to 45 days. Now, also it tells them what their scores are because we track the scores in our system. Halfway through the first any 30-day cycle, we call it the 15-day email, but let's call it the halfway through mark. An email goes out to the consumer automatically, letting him know what the expectations are, where he's at, why something is done, and what those expectations are in that phase, and what he's going to expect. He's going to expect stall tactics, frivolous responses, and what he can do to improve the experience. And it also asks for referrals as well on that email. Then on the let's say on the last day, on the anniversary date of the dispute, another email goes out to the consumer letting them know it's that day again, Joel. And that means it's dispute day. And letting them know what we're doing, why we're doing it, once again, establishing expectations, best practices, and asking for referrals again on an email. Now, this is just the email part. Now, that happens. We also send out an email to the sales rep automatically through the system and through the other to the franchise, not the franchise, to the referral agent if there was a referral agent attached to it. But that's just basic continuity. Now think about this, Joe. If you also call your customer right after he purchased, 5 days later, and then on the 29th day, ladies and gentlemen, and at the same time he's receiving those emails, that's a lot of touching, Joel, and I think that conserves revenue.
Yeah, no doubt about it, because, again, you're making that customer feel good about this. So, again, I think it's, I like the analogy, think back to how you felt when someone didn't call you back when you thought they were going to or thought that they should. And, and as Tony Robbins would say, really get into that emotion, close your eyes and get into that emotion and say, I wouldn't ever want to make my customer feel that way. So what do I need to do? What would I want to happen? Put yourself in their position, and once you do, and once you remain that empathetic towards your customer, you'll call them more often, and they'll be glad you did, and you'll be glad that you did as well. Let's go on to the, of course, there's ongoing discussion. We're going to show you some of that in just a minute. Actually, let's do that now. Let's show these other two videos. Well, I'm sorry, out of place. Let's go to the next slide here. Now, what about the the customer that didn't buy? You still had to go through the 5-minute pre-qualification. But if they don't buy, what do you do there? And these are some of our suggestions. Is to provide them with social media, Joshua. We're really fleshing out our social media score, but and I would want to invite everybody that I came in contact with as a customer, as a lead. I would want to become their friends on Facebook. Matter of fact, a call's coming up. I go look at somebody's Facebook page. I go look at their LinkedIn page. I want to figure out who they are. I want to befriend them. I want to ask them to be my friend. And, of course, I want to be careful what I post on Facebook so that, it doesn't embarrass me and it promotes a good relationship with the client. But, Joshua, that's a relatively new, it's several years old, of course, but relatively new, but absolutely the most powerful thing that's going right now is the ability to touch people and become their friends, okay? Get to know them.
Yeah, it's important. It's important that when we nurture our customers, we understand how we're directing ourselves towards them, how we're approaching them. If we're sending them emails, we want to be able to provide information. It's an we're selling a service, so this is an informational sale. Let's analyze why the customer wouldn't buy from us. Well, number one, he doesn't trust us. Maybe he doesn't believe in the service. Maybe he doesn't believe in the process. Maybe he doesn't understand the legality around it. Maybe he doesn't trust himself to be able to participate in the service. all of these questions need to be answered. So when you ask yourself, well, what is the content that I need for that? Well, it should revolve around answering those future objections or those possible objections that that customer may have had. The other thing is that when you follow up with a lead, try not to use the same salesperson to follow up. That's just a piece of advice, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm going to give you. If you were not able to close that customer, if you've got the ability to have somebody else in your office do that, have somebody else do it. We call it a takeover. That, unfortunately, when selling on the phone, we're at a grip, or over the web, we're at a great disadvantage. Selling face-to-face is probably the best way because, only 7% of what you say on the phone is really going to resonate to that customer. So the other is how you look, or what are your gestures. So only 7% is over the phone. So if you're not doing a face-to-face interaction, 93%, you're already at a disadvantage at about a 90th percentile rate. Now, this is something we need to deal with. So we really have to understand what these objections are. We've got to understand that our customers don't buy because our price is not the right price. Price is not the issue. That is not the price, and time are two things that they don't control. That means time to get the stuff off of their credit and the money that they're going to pay for it. That is out of the control of the customer. What they can control is how comfortable they feel with you, how educated they are about everything else. So when we prepare those nurturing campaigns, we want to make them feel good. Testimonials are a great way to feel somebody to have somebody feel good about the service, especially audio or video testimonials, not just written testimonials. If they can listen to somebody else just like them in their demographic, and that person says, hey, I had a great experience, they're going to say, well, why don't I? Why can't I? Add that to answering questions about what makes it legal. What is the FICO score? What is this? What is that? Because ignorance sometimes spawns attrition and not wanting to buy something. We want to be able to make it simple for them. Don't go at the customer on every email. Buy, 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 buy. You know what they're going to say? They're going to say buy to you. Goodbye. You need to nurture that customer into the sequence. Now, don't contact that customer too much or too little. So, what is too much or too little? Well, some people say once a month. I say twice a month. Email is good enough. I had somebody tell me as much as you can without the customer complaining. Well, that takes it to an extreme. Every 2 weeks is absolutely the best way to go ahead and communicate on a nurturing sequence, because this is only one way that we're going to touch this customer. We should also want to have some type of a voice call or a voice drop or an SMS or text message come in so that we can engage that customer and through all of his senses and talk to him at least maybe once a month on a voice call. Okay, these are things that are going to be complementary to just an email, a follow-up. And then, of course, when you provide education and you align yourself with what you've said, with what the industry is saying, and you send that to the customer, and they get to validate or voirate what you've actually been saying to them, that just helps them feel warm and fuzzy inside, so that they can go ahead and say, I want this now.
Joshua, let's show everybody another video of something you could send to every client, talk about with every client, because every client is affected by this, and it's just another proof source that is, a third-party testimonial, and in this case, it's from 60 Minutes. Okay, so you can't beat 60 Minutes as a source. So, but let's watch this for a few minutes.
Absolutely.
Overtime editor Ann Silvio talks with Steve Croft.
To speak with a representative, please press 3 now.
Stephen Croft, K-R-O-F-T. I have a question about something that's popped up on my credit report. There's some information on there that's not correct.
As you were reporting this story, did you get a sense of the kinds of frustrations that consumers go through when they have an error on their credit report?
Besides having financial consequences, the whole dispute process takes an emotional toll on people. This was supposed to have been taken care of a couple of years ago, and I'm certain that at one point it was deleted from my account. It's just really hard sometimes to get these things fixed. You feel like you're up against this machine and there's no way to break through. What page am I supposed to be on this? I'm having a little trouble with the website. After a while, I think sometimes people start to question their own sanity. What confirmation number? I've never lived at that address. So we decided to show the viewer what it's like.
If this scene looks familiar, or if you think you might have a mistake on your credit report, we asked Steve Cross producers on this story, Michael Karzis and James Jacoby, to share some useful tips for the average consumer.
First thing you got to do is you got to check your credit report. It's such an important thing in everybody's life now. Your credit history and your credit report. You should know it like you know your Social Security number and your address. But last year, only 44 million people checked their report.
That's out of the 200 million Americans who actually have a credit report. For those of you who've never checked, there's one thing our team says you should do. Go to annualcreditreport.com.
This is annualcreditreport.com, which is a free site from the government where you once a year can go get all 3 reports for free.
The 3 big credit reporting agencies are Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. But our team says the websites for these companies are commercially driven.
Equifax. Get your unlimited Equifax score with Equifax Complete Advantage. $4.95 for your first month. I mean, they're just selling you something right away. Too bad I didn't know.
You may have seen ads like this one for a free credit report. F-R-E-E, that spells free. Although you can't.
Let me interrupt this and say, every time I see that commercial, this pisses me off, right?
To speak with a representative.
So anyway, Joshua, this is
3 now.
Steve?
This is killer information to have on your website and be sending out to your customers.
Absolutely, absolutely, Joe. This is just great information that you can post on your website. You can share this and make it viral. As a matter of fact, I encourage you all to do that. I encourage you all to make it as viral as you can, and make yourself the standard of information. But when sending it to your customers, don't always sell to them. Don't sell to them on Facebook. Just send them good information.
You know, you just think about this. We're going to show this one more video. Think about this from a way to create a proposition statement and a much clearer position within the marketplace in your customer's eyes. Number one, you know, on your website, in your information to them, when they buy, don't buy, before they buy. Hey, just want to let you see this information, see what you're up against, see what 60 Minutes that of all the things you need to be worried about in life is when you hear these words. Hey, I'm the guy's dead now, but anyway, you say, I'm Steve Croft, I'm from 60 Minutes, I'd like to talk with you. That's the thing you don't want to have happen. And the bureaus had that happen last month, and they refused to even be interviewed by 60 Minutes. They were scared of 60 Minutes.
They should be.
Okay? They should be. And of course, I think it's there's some bills that are circling out there now that I think are going to affect the credit repair industry, but it'll take a long time, and there'll always be a need to help somebody build their credit. They've been selling oil filter wrenches for a long time, Joshua, and I still don't have one. Okay, because I don't want to get under there and get my oil get dirty. I want to get somebody else to do it. So, well, let's look at one more here, and I think this is another excellent example of something all the way back in 2007, and there's an updated version and it's still the same problem, and this should be a part of your repertoire as well.
Whose lives are sabotaged by inaccurate credit reporting. And it could be 10 million from identity theft, or if it's 25%, you're talking 50 million consumers. Anyway you slice it, we're talking about millions of consumers victimized by errors from faceless computer-generated reports. Now, we don't expect perfection, but what the FCRA requires are reasonable procedures to assure maximum possible accuracy. And as Mr. Hendricks has shown, a lot of these errors are the result of unreasonable procedures. There's a second level of protection for accuracy as well, the SCRA dispute process, which is the safety net. Unfortunately, as Mr. Bennett will speak to, that system is fundamentally flawed with its perfunctory investigations and its formalistic reduction of serious controversies into 2- or 3-digit codes. Now, Mr. Bennett is going to talk about what the flaws are in the reinvestigation process, and I'm going to give you the why. The first why is semantics, a disagreement over the meaning of the word accuracy. The bureaus and the furnishers apparently believe that accuracy means conformity to data records, not conformity to truth or conformity to reality. For example, the Mortgage Bankers Association has urged regulators to define accuracy as accurate reporting of the status of the account as reflected in the furnisher's records. In other words, if it's accurate, if it's in our records. If that becomes the standard under the Section 312 guidance, whatever the furnisher's records show, that standard is not going to improve anything for consumers. Now, the second reason for these flaws is the age-old adage that money talks. It is critical to understand that the clients of the credit bureaus are not consumers. It's the creditors. So there is little economic incentive to conduct accurate reinvestigations, good, thorough reinvestigations, because that would cost the industry real money, money spent primarily to benefit consumers, people who aren't their real customers. The only thing that will force the bureaus to fix their system is vigorous enforcement of the SCRA.
Now, Joshua, let me tell you something just came to mind, and if I were you, I'd do it, okay? I would create some good on-hold recordings, and it would include part of this as part of the on-hold recording. The credit bureau is not your friend. and you know, there's another idea here that comes to mind. You know, if you go to a doctor and they suspect you've got whatever kind of cancer or whatever kind of treatment you need, what do, Joshua? They sit you in a room before you see the doctor and show you a video. And, you know, I wonder if they're just showing it to you to inform you before the doctor gets there or to scare the crap out of you so you'll buy more easily. And won't go get a second opinion.
Absolutely. It's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, you know, to show something like this in your office before you meet with a client, I mean, I think it would, you know, it's a good idea, and it could possibly increase your conversion ratios because, again, now there's somebody on, you know, this, I forget her name. I can't remember. I don't have it right in front of me. Miss Chi Wu at the state attorney for the National Consumer Law, and then you got Steve Croft. I mean, you know, how much more third-party endorsement do you really need without even getting the third-party endorsement from them? So just something to consider as a way to help with conversions, help with the ones that don't buy as well. I think these are just tools that you've got to be using to perfect that customer life cycle.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's just a question of sending a link, working on the video, sending a link, you know, hosting the video, you know. Please get permission to do so, but go ahead and do what you need to do to push traffic over to YouTube if you want, but inform your customer of what's going on.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about the affiliate don't buy, because, you know, if you're an affiliate-driven business, the key here is to keep your affiliates very comfortable. Excuse me, I hit the wrong button there. To keep your affiliates very, very comfortable with your process, and you know, I hear it over and over again from both affiliates as well as from credit repair organizations that do business with affiliates. You know, something that goes like this. Well, you know, John, how are you trying to build your business? Well, with real estate agents and mortgage people. Well, how's that going? Well, you know, I go see them and they don't send me any business, and then I go see them and they said, well, what happened to those 10 people I referred you?
Yeah, they haven't been followed up on.
Well, they never called. Let's just start there. Well, I never heard from 10 people. Let's start there. Problem number one.
Well, hold on, Joe. Before we even define the problem, let's define who's your customer. We call it affiliate, but the affiliate is your secondary customer. Your primary customer is that consumer. Your secondary customer somebody else that you're selling a concept or a service to, in benefit to him, either directly or indirectly, is that affiliate. And sometimes we don't nurture our affiliates. We get mad when they don't send us enough business, but when we have that business, we don't nurture them. And that is a monumental mistake. We want to be able to nurture our affiliates as often as we can, possibly even more often than the way that we nurture our consumers as well.
Well, absolutely, because, you're right. I mean, who is the customer? Well, back when we were in the down payment assistance days, our customer literally was the consumer. But, the consumer didn't decide where they're going to get the down payment assistance. The realtor or the mortgage or the builder did. And the same goes for this. I was on the phone earlier with a guy that's actually two lately, okay? One of them is in the real estate business, and the other one is getting in the real estate business so that he can control the entire life cycle of a group of consumers. Now, when you get in the real estate business, you're going to stop getting referrals from real estate agents, but that's a whole nother long conversation. But here's the thing: the customer in this event that you've got to protect the relationship is, without a doubt, that let's just call it the mortgage person, okay? Without a doubt. And you've got to school them up in order to, and again, you got to build a relationship with them. To walk in, hand them a card, hand them a trifold, and say, hey, I'd like for you to send me some referrals of some people that get turned down. You're not the first guy, the last guy, or the only guy that's going to come in and say that, to them. So, that's not going to work. Okay, so what will work? Well, we've got a whole teaching on how to build the referral relationships, but so we can't go into that here as well. But the key here is to make sure that the real estate agent, loan originator, not only tells a person that doesn't qualify, there's a guy I know. Okay, you don't want to be Joshua. You don't want to be nomenclatured as there's a guy I know. Okay, you want to, right? You want to be nomenclatured as, hey, you can't buy a house because of your credit, and I've got a professional that I know that I do a lot of business with that can help you. Let me get them on the phone right now. And I would write that script down, and I would go, when I was interacting with that mortgage person, real estate agent, referral source, I'd give them that script. You say, this is my number, this is the script, this is what makes the phone ring and work. And matter of fact, I really want you to do a live transfer and get me on the phone while they're there with you. Don't hand them my card and let them walk out the door. It's like, get the mortgage person to understand that giving that person a card and letting them walk out the door is like sending a $2,000 or $3,000 out the door, because you're going to be able to help a percentage of their customers, and that's worth $2,000 to $3,000 to $5,000 or more dollars to get that customer back in the door. And so you've got to change that dynamic amongst your referral sources in order, and it starts with a relationship, Joshua. And the number one thing that starts with a relationship is communication. So when they refer somebody to you, whether they buy or they don't buy, call them that day. Hey, I just talked to so-and-so. I just called so-and-so. You referred them, thank you. They visited me. Let me touch base with you. I mean, that's just, that's the number one thing. That's job number one, as I said.
And it takes a long time to build that relationship. Why kill it because you're not following up on your clients?
Well, first of all, the first 50 credit repair companies that's walked in the door, they've already blown it for you. Okay, you got a lot of work to do, but you can do it. Okay, and how do you do it? Well, by going to their meetings, training versus selling, and it is a long slog. Now, another thing that Joshua covered a couple weeks ago is these bandit signs. Okay, so you've got to very rarely, I think, would you find somebody from out of town that is drives by and calls on your bandit sign. So that's probably a pretty locally geographic business model. Wouldn't you say, Joshua?
Yes.
Okay. So, the guy that calls on the bandit sign, what is your goal for that? Your goal is to turn him or her into a buyer for your referral agents. Same as running these ads in the rental section of the newspaper. I mean, turn that. What's the vision here? Well, let that bandit sign be the marketing for your real estate agent, so to speak. Get that guy in there. You're going to ask him the question in the 5-minute pre-qual, Joshua. Why did you call me? What's the problem? What can't you buy? And if it's a house or a loan, you build them up. Hey, I want to introduce you to my guy, my realtor, my mortgage guy.
I'll bet you dollars to donuts when you start handing back customers to those referral agents that they didn't ask or give you, the dynamic changes dramatically, Joe.
Well, we call it a drug, okay? And the customer is the drug, and the line of communication is the syringe. I mean, it is the thing that absolutely categorically gets them hooked on you. And there's nothing like it. If I were you, I'd go buy bandit signs just so I could do that, and I'd put them out where all the new subdivisions are. Put them over by the car dealers. If I wanted to go build a relationship with car dealers, I'd put them by the car dealers. Okay. And when that guy calls, he says, "Why'd you call?" "Well, I was trying to buy a car and got turned down." "Well, I may be able to help you. Let's have a 5-minute conversation." And then you go there back to the Honda dealership and say, "I want you to let you know this guy came out of the Honda dealership a couple months ago, and he's ready to buy a car. I'd like to talk to the sales manager or the general manager or the owner of the dang company," right?
And if they get him into the car, you know what that desk manager is going to do? He's going to call him every day. "Got any leads for me? Got any leads?" Because they're aggressive, Joel.
Right. And so again, this is we're having 10 conversations at once here, but guess what? They're all about getting the perfect life cycle of a customer. But if you don't have a customer, how can you have a perfect life cycle? Another idea, Joshua, that just absolutely categorically works like magic, okay, is, again, with mortgage people, real estate agents, and builders. That's my market. That's what I know. That's what I talk about, is that every Friday you call every referral source you've got, and you talk about two basic things. One is you talk about your pipeline. So when you get a new referral and you call them that day, but when every Friday you call them up and say, "I just want to let you know about our pipeline," okay? And if you don't have a pipeline, that's okay. So you still call them and say, "John, I just want to let you know I will be available this weekend in the event that you run into somebody that you think could use my services. Want to make sure you got my cell number, and if you would be sure to, when you tell them about me, just go ahead and call me right then, and so I can introduce myself to that customer and get that relationship started, so that I can help you sell a house, so I can help you get the mortgage."
Yeah.
Every Friday. And then guess what else you do, Joshua? I forgot to put this on here. You call them every Monday about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. "Hey, this is Joel. Just want to see if you had anything over the weekend that I could help you with." Every Monday. Every Friday.
Joel, and people might think, our audience might think, "Well, that's a lot of touching." Well, let me tell you, when you build an affiliate referral relationship, and when you continue on purpose to recruit affiliate relationships, your business grows exponentially once they start sending those customers over. Because it's not one customer you're going after. It's tens, it's hundreds of customers that are going to go pass by through their fingers, depending on how good or bad they are, marketing their mortgage business or real estate business. It's going to be an exponential growth, so that's a great investment of your time. But not being consistent at it and not doing it on purpose is going to be a great waste of your time if you're not careful. Joe, I think we've gone a little bit past our time schedule here. We're going to have to continue this call on the next two-part series, and we've got definitely a lot more to discuss. We're going to, for all of you out there on the call, we're going to be looking at continuity sequences for the credit repair business. We're going to be breaking them down and suggesting what they are, like lead nurturing campaigns, free credit courses, customer nurturing campaigns, affiliate nurturing campaigns, what to do when you with regards to your dispute process, how do you nurture your customer, and billing process. And then when you look at all this clicking and going, and we're going to be able to go through this next week, it really becomes a powerful, powerful tool for you not only to retain customers, but for you to be able to upsell other services as well. And we're going to go through this next week, ladies and gentlemen.
And absolutely. So be on the lookout for this. We'll look forward to seeing you next week. Joshua, let's tell everybody how they can use Identity IQ and get the $16.95 is by using this link, myiqreport.com. And to schedule for our weekly webinar, you can go to Scoreinc.com and register on the webinar page for that. And that happens next Tuesday.
Absolutely. Every Tuesday we've got the Scoreway webinar. We absolutely would love to have you on there so you can see what our new software platform, a company with a true and proven solution can do for your business in the credit repair industry, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and if you want to get in touch with us, the number's on the screen, the number's on our website. And, of course, we've got all sorts of contact forms and all sorts of information. So, Joshua, another good webinar. We'll see everybody here next week. Look forward to it, and look forward to your success.